Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in on this Wednesday morning, and what a Wednesday it is. I'm here leading it off as Kyle is on dad duty, but fear not, we still have got a lot to talk about. We have transfer portal news to talk about. We have recruiting news to talk about. We have got top quarterback lists to talk about. All of it going to be jam-packed into our segment today, and I'm very happy to be here with all of you. Chris from New Jersey, happy you're here, my man. Kevin Lynch, happy you're here. Hope y'all are having a good day. Let me know how y'all are doing down into the comments. Let me know where you're watching from. Let me know the whole 9 yards, right? Let me know how you're feeling about the transfer portal, whether or not Alabama is going to get some big wins, and just your general vibe of it. I think that's the place we should start, right? Because I think that's where every Alabama fan across the nation is sitting, watching, wondering, when is Alabama going to get the wins via the transfer portal? And my answer is hopefully sooner rather than later, especially after it was announced that Monday, Indiana transfer Kobe Minor would not be visiting the Crimson Tide because of the expectation that Deshaun Jones, the Wake Forest transfer, would be transferring. Now, at the point where we heard that, Gary from Birmingham, happy you're here, my man. Been to Birmingham one time. It was when I was in high school, and it was for Nationals of Debate. Real nerdy, I know. But what are you going to do, right? What are you going to do? I don't shy away from it. Happy you're in here today, though, my man. Happy you're in here. Let me know what y'all are thinking about the transfer portal, because it's getting wild. And quite frankly, I think at this point, if you would have asked Alabama fans Monday after the news announced that Kobe Minor would not be visiting because of the expectation of Deshaun Jones committing, many Alabama fans out there would have thought that Jones would have already committed. Ronald, what's up? Jor, my man, what's your question? Of course. Here from Charlotte, and we feel like it's, 100%. Southern Red, happy you're here. But Jor, as always, my man, feel free to ask any question. I love Jor. Ronald, thank you for being in here, my man. But as I'm waiting on Jor's question, which I'm a little nervous about, right? Because Jor, for a while there, was on a streak of attempting to make me laugh, attempting to make me break on here, but also one of the more insightful people. I mean, always coming in here with fantastic news, fantastic analysis, absolutely killing it. And Jor, I really appreciate all that you do, all the support you bring, and just keeping us up to date on everything, man. You are fantastic to have in any chat, because we'll be talking and then boom, when news breaks, it doesn't take 1 minute. Larry, happy you're in here, my guy. Hope you're having a good Wednesday morning. Hope you're having a great week. But I think a lot of Alabama fans would have thought that scare you as much as it does me. Does the addition? Off the top of my head, Jor, I can't say that it just terrifies me. Right. But it is wild, right? Like, that guy has so much athleticism that he was able to go do his thing in baseball, then come back to Arkansas. Super athletic dude. Let's check him out real quick. Super athletic dude. 6'3", went to Lee Summit West in Missouri. If I'm not mistaken, isn't that where Williams Winery just went? I think that's where Williams Winery came from. And he was a top 10 player. I mean, not that that matters, but like, I don't know if it scares me as much as it does you, Jor, only because Arkansas as a whole, right? Like, I have questions about what Arkansas is going to be in 2024. Now, that being said, I do like the addition for them. I do really like the addition for them. But at the end of the day, I can't say it really scares me. Now, I'm interested in hearing from you why you think that this is such a big addition. It certainly is a big addition, but you know I respect your insight, my man. So if you don't mind, type that down there. I'd love to hear from you. But this is a fully developed guy in a major league and decided to come back to college with kids. Does that not pave the way for more athletes to do this? It certainly could, but you would have to have the ability to do both. Right. And that's something that we see some guys be able to do. For instance, Oklahoma just got a running back commit, Taylor Tatum. And there was a genuine question as to whether or not that guy would ever make it to Oklahoma's campus, because he's so good at baseball. They were like, hey, you might not ever make it to OU. You might just continue on with baseball. There's also that kid from Galveston, I believe, Justin Williams. He's the guy that was a linebacker, has converted to safety. Well, there are questions about him as well. Just because he is a very, very talented baseball player. Now, I don't know that that's going to automatically assume you can make it into the MLB, but I think you have a good question here. He is a fully developed guy, right? It's not like he is new to the athletic process. That's going to give him a leg up. And it could pave the way for more people to do it. But like I said, you would have to have the ability to do both. And I think we're already talking about one percenters. And then when you start talking about the ability to play multiple sports at a high level, you're already talking about a very small subsect of the 1%. So it could happen. It could happen. But we've seen this before, right? Brandon Whedon. We've seen this before. Oklahoma State had a quarterback that came back and was able to hit the ground running. He was a baseball guy, came back. It was Brandon Whedon, wasn't it? Or am I tripping? Regardless, it was a quarterback for Oklahoma State. Maybe it wasn't Brandon Whedon. But Oklahoma, it wasn't. I don't think it was Brandon Whedon, but Oklahoma State had a quarterback that had gone to the MLB and then came back to Oklahoma State in order to pursue football. It wasn't Brandon Whedon, though, or at least I don't think it was, because Brandon Whedon was a little bit before the time I'm thinking of. Deshaun just posted something saying recruitment's still open. Was it on Twitter, Ballin? I'll have to go check that out. Shaq, good morning, good morning. Happy you're in here. But no, I think this is a very principled question. Let me see which quarterback that was real quick. Oh, it was Brandon Whedon, I guess. Yeah, it was Brandon Whedon. He played a baseball career from 2002 to 2006 and then played for Oklahoma State afterwards. So we've seen this before. This isn't a one-off, right? And once again, I think that, like, if it would have paved the way, that would have been a big one. But it kind of, in my opinion, boils down to ability, right? Like, do you have the ability to play both at the highest levels? And in my opinion, since we're already talking about 1% guys, then you're really like self-selecting a large percent of that 1% into guys that can do both at an incredibly high level. But this is a very interesting conversation, Jor. Very, very interesting conversation. Now, let me hit Twitter real fast, because that right there would be a little bit alarming. Deshaun Jones right now is a big deal for Alabama, right? Like, he has that, they put their eggs in that basket. Okay, yeah. He just posted 16 minutes ago, recruitment's still open. That's not great. I'm not going to lie to y'all. That's not great, because Alabama has let some really talented cornerbacks off the board without pursuing them. Javion Cole is now at Texas. That was a really good cornerback. Pons is at Indiana, I think. That was a really good quarterback. The Western Kentucky cornerback ended up staying at Western Kentucky. And they didn't take the visit from Kobe Minor under the expectation that Deshaun Jones would be committing. So at the point where he has posted on Twitter, recruitment still open, that's not good. I'm not going to lie to y'all. That's not good. It wouldn't surprise me at all. For some reason, DBs are not wanting to come here. Well, I can tell you the reason why, Kelly. I can tell you the reason why. The reason why corners aren't wanting to come here is because they don't want to be the starting corner game 1, game 2, game 3, and then maybe get a little banged up, or maybe make a mistake, and then all of a sudden Zabian Brown, Jalen Mbakwe, or Zay Mincy comes in, takes your spot, and then they never get it back. These guys, they're transferring because they want opportunities. They want to be able to play now, and they want to be able to be developed into NFL players. It's a lot harder to be developed into an NFL player. It's a lot harder to convince the NFL, hey, I'm that dude, if you got your job taken by a freshman. Even if it's a 5-star freshman, it's a lot harder to do so. This is one of the concerns I had. It's actually something I talked about Monday night at 7 p.m. with Coach Sean and Coach Jay. All three of us hopped on here 7 p.m. I said 7 a.m., but it was 7 p.m. I came in a little bit later because they were absolutely killing it, and I was texting them, like, hey, if y'all want a third, I would love to be in there just chopping it up with my bros. And they were like, come on in. But I asked both of them this question, and David, it alludes to this right here. Whenever we needed depth, the thing that has worried me is how talented our freshmen are. Now, let me explain this, because that seems like a roundabout statement, or it seems like a statement that may not make a whole lot of sense. But let me explain. Let me unpack this. As David says right here, I've said it over and over, these portal guys aren't looking to be depth guys. Ephraim says you don't transfer to ride the bench, just a fact. I think a lot of these guys out there, they're worried. A lot of these transfer guys are worried, like, hey, Alabama just got in 3 5-star true freshmen. Jaleel Hurley was a 5-star at one point. Damani Jackson was a top 10 player in the nation, depending on where you look, a top 5 player. That right there is something that a lot of these transfer corners, they don't want to have to deal. So now we're in the age of being afraid of competition. So yes and no, sweet home. I don't think that all transfer corners are scared of competition, but I think that the guys that are transferring like, why are you transferring? Are you going to embrace competition? Let's talk Cam Howard, for instance, who transferred in from Charlotte. Cam Howard transfers in with the expectation that, oh, I'm going to be developed. I'm going to be here. I'm going to compete for mine. I'm probably not going to start in 2024. Alabama has the safety position covered, but I'm here to be a depth piece. So it all boils down to, why are you transferring? If that's true, then why does Ole Miss? Because if I'm not mistaken, Oregon was looking for someone to push for starting safety, and that's what Peyton Woodyard looks to do over there, is push for starting safety. And Ole Miss, they got Amos, and as far as corner, they needed a lot of help out there. And I think it's far easier, Kelly, to say at Ole Miss, hey, come in here and compete, because we don't have 3 5-star true freshmen. In fact, I don't think Ole Miss has 2 5-star cornerbacks on that roster, let alone 3 5-star true freshmen, plus a top 5 player in the nation, depending on where you look, Damani Jackson. So you're right, like, Ole Miss and Oregon keep getting player after player, but once again, it falls back onto the nuance of Alabama is in a position where these 5-star true freshmen might beat you out. You're not getting your job back if a freshman beats you out. It's different if, let's say, you have a bad game, you have a bad sequence, and at Ole Miss, they swap you out for another junior guy. Well, y'all can keep battling it out, and maybe you might get your job back. If a true freshman takes your spot, you're probably not getting that job back, because the leash for a true freshman is going to be far longer than the leash for a junior or a senior, because those guys, you're going to look at them and say, you've played college football for too darn long. You can't be making that mistake. If a true freshman makes that mistake, it's much easier to stomach, because you're like, okay, you're a developmental guy. So you're right. Oregon and Ole Miss keep getting these guys, but I think it once again falls back onto the nuance of, they don't want to get their job taken by a true freshman. And right now, Alabama, though they don't have the numbers at cornerback, they have talent. And that kind of puts them in a precarious position. Also, like Ephraim says, relationships are everything. Kiffin is going to have a difficult time keeping all those transfers happy. Yeah, no doubt about it. And I also have questions about the viability of the transfer portal in terms of being able to do what Ole Miss is doing and trying to build out a roster via the transfer portal. I have serious questions about it. But if Alabama misses on Deshaun Jones, I'm not going to lie to y'all. That's not good. That is not good. I'm not saying, everything's on fire and it's time to panic. That's not my contention. But my contention is it's not good. I'm even more concerned about our secondary now than I was a couple weeks ago when we lost Mitchell and Woodyard. So the only thing I can say to that, Kevin Lynch, is if Alabama lands King Mack, King Mack was a really talented guy coming out of high school. In fact, if we look, he was a top 90 player in the nation, a top 10 safety, and he made the 2023 24/7 Sports Freaks list. King Mack is short, though, 5'10", 190. I mean, if you can play, you can play. You know what I mean? And he's got ranginess that, quite frankly, I don't know that any other safety we had possessed, in terms of he ran a 10.6 100-meter dash in high school. He's got that ranginess on the back end. If we land Mack. Now, it's a big if. King Mack, he's not the tallest guy, Jor. You're 100% right. But, commits, does anyone try playing his corner? That's a good question. That's a good question, Jeffrey. That's a very good question. I don't know. I don't have, that's a great question. I don't know. You can only build a roster through the portal for a couple of years. It's not successful long-term. You still have to recruit, especially in the South. I completely agree. Yeah, it can be done. There's no doubt about it. You can absolutely convert people from corner to safety. It can be done. But, we gotta figure something out, because talent isn't the issue at corner. It's numbers. It's numbers. If we talk scholarship corners right now, you have got Damani Jackson, you've got the 3 5-star true freshman, and you've got Jaleel Hurley. You got 5 scholarship cornerbacks right now. That's it. You want more numbers. I hear Cam Howard was going to be a corner. Well, that would certainly provide some numbers. There's no doubt about it. But you really wanted to land Deshaun Jones. Hopefully they'll be able to. Let's understand this. Just because he tweeted his recruitment is still open doesn't mean Alabama is not going to land him, right? I mean, as far as we know, his recruitment was open before he tweeted that, right? That's the status quo. Until he commits, his recruitment is open. That's the nature of the business. So it's an interesting tweet, no doubt about it. Maybe he just put it out there because other schools were like not even talking to him. I don't know. How concerned are you, Ty? I'll answer this question depending on whether or not we get these wins via the transfer portal. On the Players Era Festival, I haven't heard anything about that. I have no idea what that is, Jor. What is that? Players Era Festival. That sounds cool. Oh, is that that's that basketball tournament. That's cool. That's cool. That's really cool. Yeah, Jor, that's awesome, isn't it? Now, once again, I'll be forthright with you, Jor. I don't know anything about basketball. I'm sure pretty much, every person in here has more college football basketball knowledge than I. I spend so much of my time watching college football that I don't really watch a whole lot of other sports, unfortunately. I'm just now getting back into watching European soccer. I watched the PSG Dortmund game yesterday. Excited to watch the other Champions League semifinal today. I watched some playoff basketball last night. I'm starting to get back acclimated, but if it wasn't fighting or college football, I wasn't watching it for a long time. So I'm not going to be able to give you super in-depth stuff. I'd be interested in hearing your take on it. I just meant the NIL based of it and how it could shape college events in the future. Yeah, I mean, that's awesome. But I'll tell you this, man, and this is something that I find really interesting. I have been blessed over the past 2 years that the executive director of bowl season, and those are the people that handle all bowl games. Nick Carparelli, he's the guy who oversees all the bowl games. For the past 2 seasons, bowl season has reached out to my channel, and Nick Carparelli has come on, and he and I have talked for about a 30-minute conversation. and we were, you know, doing our thing. We were doing our thing. Drewski asked, is the Smook Scoop happening today? Unfortunately not, my brother. Smook has his own channel. He's absolutely killing it over there, and I certainly wish him the best. Um, but yeah, unfortunately, no, Drewski. Smook, like I said, he's got his own channel, and he is absolutely killing it over there. You excited for Snoop Dogg's bowl? Man, I just like all this new in college football. But like I was saying, Nick Carparelli, great guy, executive director of Bowl Season, and he has graced me with the opportunity. He and Bowl Season as an organization have graced me with the opportunity the previous 2 years to do a sit down conversation with him. Both years on the importance of bowl games and why it's big for college football. And I have a little bit of a love relationship with bowl games, right? Like I really value bowl games because the first college football game I ever went to, let's see if we can get that to focus. The Cotton Bowl in 2007, January 1st, 2007. My dad took me to see the Cotton Bowl. And I mean, I already loved college football, but that right there made me love college football so much more. I mean, it just elevated my love of the game, right? And I'll never forget that. For as long, I mean, I'll never forget it. It was cold. It was miserable, but I had a blast. So I really love bowl games. And I understand like that with the expansion of the college football playoffs, there's this notion that bowl games are meaningless, but Mr. Carparelli is brilliant. Nick Carparelli is an incredibly smart individual, and he was someone who really was revolutionary in other sports before he became involved with college football. And he's the guy who kind of helped them do that Cheez It suite 2 years ago. Y'all remember whenever the Cheez It Bowl happened and they had the Cheez It suite for a few of the players? That was, Nick Carparelli had his hand in that. The Pop Tart Bowl, Nick Carparelli had his hand in that. So this is a guy that's incredibly forward thinking. So to answer your question, George, do I think that this could impact and shape future college events? Absolutely. Because Nick Carparelli, who's in charge of bowl season, he's already thinking of ways to revolutionize it, to keep it fun, to keep it interesting, to keep it something that the people will want to see, even with the expansion of the college football playoffs, because they know that with the expansion of the college football playoffs, there's this notion between fans that, oh, bowl games don't matter. Well, they're trying to make sure bowl games always matter. And they're trying to find ways to simultaneously maintain the historic nature that bowl games have always had around them while also revolutionizing them so that they're fun, they're exciting, they have something. So I certainly think that this is going to have reaching implications. I certainly think so. I remember seeing this yesterday. I just didn't know it was called the what was it called? Players Era Festival. I just didn't know it was called that. But the mill per team, like that's awesome. That's awesome. What's the deadline for players in portal to sign with the team? I don't know that there is one, sweet home. It's just one of those things where you better do it before fall camp starts. But there's a deadline to enter the transfer portal, but there's no deadline to sign, right? Takario Davis just exited the transfer portal. He decided to stay with Arizona. He entered in the winter portion and then just sat and was like wondering what he was going to do from that point until he had initially made his decision. So you don't have, there are people in the transfer portal, guys, that never found a home. Right. That's kind of the reality of the transfer portal. There are people that have entered the transfer portal that have not found a home. And I don't mean in the spring window. I don't even mean in the winter window. I mean like last spring window. Ty, any chance Tony Mitchell comes back? Certainly could be a chance. Certainly could be a chance. Caden Proctor came back. Right? So I mean like it's the transfer portal. He could have entered into the transfer portal with the expectation from the Alabama staff, like, hey, I'm going out here to see my options, right? Like I gave y'all a chance and now I'd like to see my options. And so now we're going to, you know, Is there a chance two corners are re-say that, Kelvin, because I don't know what you mean by that last are stuffs. I don't know what you mean by that, my man. Ask me that again. He's probably trying to drive the price of NIL up. No doubt. No doubt, Patrick. That's the era we're in. Is there a chance two corners are studs? There certainly could be, Kelvin. I love the freshman talent they have. I think Damani Jackson has all the upside in the world. I think Damani Jackson just never had a defensive scheme that was conducive to anything close to success. I have been notoriously against the Alex Grinch speed D for years. For years, I have ranted and raved against it. And though I love the moves that USC has made in the coaching department, Doug Belk is out there. They have Coach Henney on the defensive line who worked with the Los Angeles Rams. They made some good moves. They have the former North Dakota State coach. The head coach of North Dakota State is now the linebackers coach out there. I still have questions about their strength and conditioning program. Benny Wiley. I still have questions as to whether his strength and conditioning program is going to be conducive to success. Yeah, now you have all these great coaches, but are you going to be able to maintain physicality? Because that's been a major problem. And we'll see. But the reason why I bring all that up at USC to Kelvin is because I think Damani Jackson could have a big year. We need to remember that coming out of high school, and I understand star rankings mean nothing, but he was a top 5 player, depending on where you looked, in all of high school football. He ran a 10-2-5 100-meter dash out there in California. He played in arguably the best high school league in the nation, that Trinity League out there. I mean, that Trinity League is wild at how many guys year in, year out they send to college football. So I think Damani Jackson, if everything comes together, hopefully he's going to be a dude. Now, the question is what do you do outside of Damani Jackson? Well, this is where I think Alabama's very blessed to have Nick Saban's parting gift, as I have dubbed it since January 24th. There's a video on my channel called Nick Saban's Parting Gift, and it's talking about this very thing. Nick Saban left Alabama with 3 5-star defensive backs at the cornerback position alone in one class. So I think Zabian Brown to Kelvin is probably the most college-ready defensive back of last class, right? I think that when it comes to I think he has the highest floor of any defensive back in last class. I think he's the most college-ready from a technical standpoint. Jalen Mbakwe and Zay Mincy, their ceilings are unreal. Jalen Mbakwe is such an incredible athlete, and he was able to contribute everywhere and anywhere. But at the end of the day, now that he's going to have the opportunity to focus in on one area, I think that's going to be really big for him. I think that's going to be something that he is going to excel once he gets to one position. And cornerback, I think, it's not going to take long for him to start really excelling there. And then Zay Mincy, I haven't hid my excitement. What's going on, D1 Royal? I haven't hid my excitement about Zay Mincy. I think that guy right there has a ton of positional versatility. I think he can play multiple positions in the secondary. He's a rangy cornerback in terms of athletic ability, but also in terms of stature. And during the All-American game, I mean, he was fantastic. During the All-American game, Zay Mincy was going up, making it look easy in terms of being able to track the football, being able to stay with his wide receiver, being able to press off the line. So I think there is a chance that, we can have two corners that are studs. But at the end of the day, Jermaine, my man, happy you're in here. At the end of the day, I think you want depth. And I keep bringing back this game. That Georgia national championship where Georgia won. Everybody talks about the loss of the 2 wide receivers, but very few people have the conversation about the loss of the defensive backs. We've seen what lack of competitive depth has done to a defensive back room personally. That's why I think it's so key. It's so key that you try and land someone out the transfer portal. And I do agree with Parker, what he was saying when he said, Patrick, I'm sorry. I do agree with Patrick when he was saying, hey, this guy's just trying to drive up the price. Yeah, you're probably 100% right. Now, is Alabama going to be willing to play ball? I don't know. They better. Not necessarily, and that's not even to say they better be willing to play ball for a Deshaun Jones. Bama NIL better be willing to play ball, period. That's where we are now. Whether we like it or not, whether I agree with it or not, whether you agree with it or not, that matters little. That's where we are. And until things change, you got two options. Pull a Dabo and sit on your hands, and like Dabo did with the transfer portal, and say, I'm not playing this game, or adapt and play the game, whether you like it or not. And I'm not saying that it has to be with Deshaun Jones, but I mean, there have been some really quality corners exit the transfer portal. And maybe they wanted some NIL money. Maybe you needed to pony up. Well, Ricky, happy you're in here. You got to pony up in these days, right? A great example of this. LSU, Texas, Missouri, OU all went to battle for Dominic Williams, the number 2 defensive lineman available in the transfer portal. Every single one of those schools had to pony up. You want him? Pony up. OU ended up doing it and won it. Oklahoma is a team that recognized, hey, whether we like this or not, we got to play the game. So they have done a lot of work into their NIL collective. Alabama has got to do work into their NIL collective. What are your thoughts on Brian Kelly's thoughts yesterday about Brian Kelly saying, oh, we're not in the business of buying players? Hey, listen, man, I hear you. I hear Brian Kelly when he says that. But at the same time, if everyone that you're playing is in the business of buying players, you better get in the business. Right? If everybody that you're playing, if the top teams out there are in the business of going out there and offering these players hellacious money, you better get in that business. We heard rumors about Texas A&M spending a bunch of money. We've seen Texas pony up a bunch of money in NIL. So you can't just let these other teams in the SEC be the programs that will do it. Right? And that's a direct to Brian Kelly. That's to anybody. Because we've seen before, whenever Dabo Swinney was like, oh, I'm not, he didn't, I don't know that he outright said it, but the same theory applies where Dabo Swinney was like, I'm not in the business of using the transfer portal. Well, Dabo, where'd that get you? You're no longer the number 1 team in the SEC. BK is being disingenuous. Yeah, he's probably just saying it in front of the camera, but it's interesting the timing of when he said it, Kelly. I am very interested by nuance, by just discourse. Discussion and the way people talk about things fascinate me. I love studying it. And this is the interesting thing. He said that a few days after they lost a major recruiting battle for Dominic Williams, a win, quite frankly, they had to have. Yeah, OU needed defensive line help. Sure, that's true. DeJoun Terry is the only guy on Oklahoma that had more of 100 snaps experience in college football. But DeJoun Terry is not the only guy they're excited about. They have Jaden Jackson. They have David Stone. David Stone being a 5-star. Jaden Jackson and David Stone coming by way of IMG. So they have guys at OU. You even look at Texas. Texas has some guys. Now, granted, they lost their 2 interior monsters, but they even have some guys that you talk to Texas fans, they're very excited about. And LSU lost the battle for Dominic Williams. So I find it very interesting, Jor and Kelly, that's when Brian Kelly makes those statements afterwards, where he was like, oh, we're not in the business of buying players. Well, you should have been. Because maybe Dominic Williams would be strapping up for LSU as opposed to being out there with the Oklahoma Sooners now. And you had to have him. Because as Jor corrected me yesterday, they don't have much on that defensive front. They need all the help they can get on that defensive front. D1 Royal Bama says that is one reason why Dabo couldn't be the head coach at Alabama. He does not know how to use the portal, and he would have only took our team backwards. Yeah, I whenever everybody was wondering who our coach is going to be, I famously came on here and said, please not Dabo. And that's not to question Dabo's coaching ability, his X's and O's. I think Dabo's brilliant in X's and O's. But darn it, I just don't think that you can be someone who resists change in a landscape that is changing quicker than any landscape out there, or as quick as any landscape out there. That's not good. You cannot resist change in a sport right now that's changing quicker than any other major sport. Expanded playoffs, the transfer portal. What can you do? NIL. What can you do? College football is changing faster than any sport. And the people that will be successful are the people that can ride the wave, the people that can surf this out. Yeah, it's multiple things combined, Ricky. It's multiple things combined. People still want to win, but they want to get paid. It's a lot of things. A part of college football, like someone from A&M. I don't know, man. Ryan Day's got more pressure on him than any coach out there, in my opinion. I've said this multiple times. I think right now there are several coaches out there that have a lot of pressure on them. 3 coaches that I'm watching very closely this next season: Ryan Day, Mario Cristobal, and Billy Napier. I think those 3 coaches have as much pressure on them as any coaches out there. David Mills asks, can any wide receivers make the switch to cornerback like Diggs did? So what's interesting is Bubba Hampton was actually at one point a cornerback commit for the University of Texas. But the major incentive that really drew him to Alabama was that, hey, we'll let you play wide receiver. So there are certainly guys that could do it, David. The question is would they want to? And that's where it gets a little bit deeper, right? Like, does Bubba Hampton want to make that switch? And if the answer is no, that's where you could find yourself in some trouble. I think it's interesting to watch Dabo in comparison to someone like Coach Prime. Watching it play out will be fascinating. Yeah, or even Lane Kiffin. Lane Kiffin is using the transfer portal as well as anybody out there right now. I mean, goodness gracious, we're going to have to here soon make a graphic of Lane Kiffin dressed up like Tiger King because he's using the portal as well as anybody out there. Yeah, Dabo has the connection to Bama. He lost 12 to the port. That's what I'm talking about, man. You can't resist change. This is interesting. Top 5 coaches with pressure: Ryan Day, Lane Kiffin, James Franklin, Brent Venables, and Deion Sanders. Brent is interesting. Brent's going into year 3. So I can understand. I get it, Darius. That's interesting. That's interesting because I both agree and disagree. I understand what you mean when you say pressure, but I don't think that pressure for Brent Venables is losing his job. And let me explain why. Because whenever Lincoln Riley left Oklahoma, he took the Heisman winning quarterback, Caleb Williams, with him. I mean, granted, he hadn't already won a Heisman, but he went on to win the Heisman that same year. He took him with him. Multiple 5-star wide receivers, or multiple wide receivers dipped out. And that was a team that didn't know how to spell defense when Brent got there. It was a pure offensive team. And Brent has not only had to redo the quarterback room, right? Because Dylan Gabriel got hurt his first year there. They didn't have a quarterback. If you go back and watch Texas versus Oklahoma, their first year, as Auburn has done a targeted attack on me, at least this time the freeze frame isn't that bad. Caleb, I'll answer that question here in a minute, my man. I got to just adjust my camera. And yeah, Mac and I do not get along. But if you go back and watch that Texas game, Texas versus Oklahoma, Brent Venables' first year, Dylan Gabriel isn't available, got absolutely knocked down in the TCU game, got his head taken off. And whenever they played Texas, they had their tight end running Wildcat. So Brent has had to work through a lot to get where they are now. So I agree that he has pressure on him, Darius, but I don't think it's the type of pressure that would see him losing his job whenever he had to completely rebuild Oklahoma. He had to redo the philosophy of what Oklahoma, right? He had to redo their philosophy from being an offensive only team to being a team that valued defense and balanced football. So I don't know. Lane Kiffin is interesting. I do agree with pressure on Lane Kiffin because I understand this right here, Jor. Lane to me is someone who has so much ability, but it's like it's got to happen at some point. Now, last year he had a really good year. Last year he had a really good year. He only had 2 losses, being to Bama and Georgia. If you're going to lose 2 games, those are 2 teams that like everybody out there is going to be like, ah, okay. So you lost 2 games to Bama and Georgia. All right, cool. Like I get that. But I do think Lane has a lot of pressure on him, especially with all the moves they did in the transfer portal and Penn State right now. Jor, you know what's so fascinating? Over on the SEC Connect, Jay with Unfair Sports, Nino's Sport Corner, and myself have been talking about the interesting kind of connection between James Franklin and Lane Kiffin. It's so fascinating you bring it up because we've been having this conversation as far back as like October. Because what's Lane's biggest win? What are we talking? 2019 LSU or 2019 Texas A&M? Is that their biggest win? And I'm not asking to be facetious. I'm just, asking. Matthew says, Ty, man, I wish I could watch this video, guys, but I have to go to my niece's kindergarten graduation. Well, congratulations to your niece for graduating kindergarten, and thank you very much for the well wishes. Now, Caleb King asks Juju Lewis or Keelan Russell. Listen, man, I love Juju's game. I absolutely love Juju's game. He's an incredibly talented quarterback. I would be very happy to get him into this recruiting class. I think that guy is automatic, right? I think he's automatic. I think he's got such a high ceiling. He reclassified. To be a 5-star after reclassifying is no easy feat. To be one of the top players in the nation, like even amongst 5 stars after reclassifying, is incredible. Absolutely incredible. So I would love to get Juju Lewis in this class. However, if we cannot flip Juju Lewis, Keelan Russell is the guy that I would want real bad. Now, you have to understand a few reasons as to why, Caleb. First and foremost, thank you very much to Kelvin Garrett thanks for your work. I'm from Talladega, but live in Killeen, Texas. You keep me informed with home like no other. Hey, man, I'm just someone with a microphone that loves talking about college football. You're in I'm going to butcher that name, Killeen. I'm in Denton, man. I'm in Denton, Texas, just north of Dallas. You know what I mean? So we're out here. We're out here. I'm just obsessed with college football. And I should really be thanking you, Garrett, not only for the donation. Thank you very much for your donation. Thank you very much for your time. Time and health, those are the 2 most valuable assets you have. I say this all the time. And it means more than you know that you spend your time watching what I have to say, listening to what I have to say. That means the world. So I'm the one who should be thanking you, not the other way around. And that goes for everybody in here. I should be thanking you, not the other way around. Because without all of you, I'm talking into a void. Without all of you, I'm talking into a void. Right? So I am nothing without my community. That's the truth of the matter. Right? I am nothing without the unbelievable community. So I need to be thanking you. But thank you very much for the donation. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your contributions. You guys also in the Undefeated, y'all don't know how much I appreciate just your comments because I love discourse. So like Caleb asking about Juju Lewis or Russell. I love this because it opens us up for a conversation that's necessary to have. And Caleb, I 1000% agree with you, my brother. You more here. Even if Juju doesn't go to Auburn, even if Juju stays with USC, Keelan's the guy. No, that's not to say that there aren't very talented quarterbacks out there. There are. And Kalen DeBoer is a great quarterback developer. But Russell plays in one of the toughest high school leagues out there. He plays for Duncanville. You get a quarterback from Duncanville, one thing you know, he's practicing against guys that are going to be in college football. Colin Simmons was one of the top players in the nation. He's over at Texas right now. Caden Durham's on his way to LSU right now. Their running back. I mean, they send guys. They send guys to college football like it's going out of style. So if you don't get Juju Lewis, Keelan Russell is a monster. I'm a Juju fan regardless of where he goes. Oh, 100% smooth. 100%. Listen, I wish the best for these guys no matter where they end up. A recruiting battle that I really wanted Alabama to win a few years ago was Hero Canoe. He's a part of PPI Recruits. I talk about PPI Recruits all the time, headed by Brandon Collier. If you're not familiar with PPI Recruits, you're doing yourself a disservice. PPI Recruits is one of the coolest things out there in the recruiting landscape. This guy, Brandon Collier, travels the world, finds guys that can play college football in America, and will get them connected. One of his guys was a guy, Hero Canoe, coming from Germany. Hero Canoe always wanted to be a soccer player until he hit like 6'5", 235 pounds. And then he kind of realized, yeah, I ain't going to be a soccer player. You know what I mean? I ain't going to be a soccer player. I'm going to be a football player. Well, he ends up in America during the shutdown. He played 3 high school games, had 36 offers after his 3rd high school game. Bama and Ohio State were in the Final Four. He ended up at Ohio State. But if that's where it's best for you, then by all means, go to Ohio State, man. And part of the reason why I feel this so strongly about this move, I want these kids in high school, I want them to take all their visits. I want them to make the best, what they feel is the best decision for them, especially with the existence of the transfer portal. Because if you get it right the first time, I feel like you're less likely to transfer later. No, you had it right the first time, Caleb. Hero Canoe. Hero Canoe. Yep. I'm excited. I think he's in for a year this year. I think he's a guy that they're going to feature heavily on this Ohio State defensive front. And I'm very excited. I really hope he does well. Unpopular opinion. James Franklin is a slightly better Mario Cristobal. I agree. I don't know how unpopular that is, my man. I don't know how, because you want to know what I've never seen James Franklin do? Not need the ball twice. Oh, y'all would have thought that I was a Miami fan. Kareem, you've been over at my channel for a while. Kareem Hood, I know for a fact Kareem has been over at Around the Table Sports for a very long time. Did you ever see the lives that Jance and I did that Monday after Mario Cristobal did that? You'd have thought I was a Miami fan, how mad I was. I was pissed. Because like Smooth says, I'm a Bama fan. I'm a college football fan. NIL negates any good recruiting these days. These kids want the bag, and oftentimes it's who was offering the most. You're not wrong. Ty, things have really changed. When Saban was there, guys were lining up to play at Bama. Now it seems we can't get quality defensive backs to transfer into Bama. This is a little worrisome. So I talked about this earlier, Shane. I don't think that you're wrong. I think that you're right, but I also think that there's a level of nuance that we have to acknowledge here, in that why don't they want to transfer to Bama? In my opinion, there could be multiple reasons, right? And I'm not shying away from that. But a big reason I think that they don't want to transfer to Bama is they don't want to get their job taken by one of these true freshmen. Because they know if they go out with a mistake, think Kyrie Jackson. Right? Kyrie Jackson, he exited the game and he never got that spot back. I think they're worried about that. I was always hopeful that Alabama would get someone via the transfer portal at the cornerback position. But I wasn't ever just like, oh yeah, it's going to happen, because at the end of the day, how likely is it that someone's going to transfer to be depth? Because if they're transferring, more than likely, they're already a depth piece. And that's a big reason why guys transfer, is because they're depth. So you got to find someone who's willing to transfer and embrace competition. And that's tough, right? Like a Cam Howard, he's someone who's transferring and he's like, I know that I might not be the guy this year, but I'm here to be developed. So you're right. You're certainly right, Shane. And I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm only saying, like, as right as you are, there is also this little asterisk next to it that, though I don't know that that's the case, I certainly wonder. And I'd be very interested in hearing from you, Shane. You always give great insight. You always give great insight, my man. So I'd be very interested in hearing from you on your thoughts on that. Caleb, I keep thinking back to your comment, my brother, about Juju Lewis or Keelan Russell. I could not agree with you more, man. I couldn't agree with you more. If we don't land Juju, which if he's trying to play the NIL game, Bama needs to pony up, or they need to get Russell. Now, I do really like that they offered Russell expeditiously. He's supposed to come in for a visit. That guy right there, if Alabama wins on the Keelan Russell front, I'm good with quarterbacks if we get Keelan Russell. I love his game. Not only where he plays, that kid is fast. That kid is fast now. He plays for Duncanville. He's used to competing in practice. He's used to competing on Friday nights. He's used to playing. The kid plays in Jerry's World every single year. He's used to big environments. And I'll tell you something about these Texas State championship games now. You look in the stands, they're packed. They are packed. How do I know? Go back and watch Southlake Carroll versus Austin Westlake. Go back and watch it. Seriously, after this video, if you have time, if you're inclined, go back and watch Southlake Carroll versus Austin Westlake. Whenever you had Cade Klubnik as the quarterback for Austin Westlake. Have you seen him live? Yes, I have, DeKelvin. Yes, I have. I live just a few minutes away. Not a few minutes, but you get what I mean in terms of Texas time. In Texas time, ladies and gentlemen, if you're less than an hour away, you're a few minutes away. Right? You're a few minutes away. In this darn state, you'll drive for 9 hours and still be in Texas. You will drive and drive and drive and drive and drive and drive, and you're still in Texas. So I live probably 35 minutes from where he plays. I've seen him play multiple times. Love his game, man. But go back and watch that Austin Westlake versus Southlake Carroll game. Cade Klubnik versus Quinn Ewers. Look in one of the end zones just behind it, and you'll see someone leaned up against the padding behind the end zone. It's me. I was on the field for that game, leaning up against the end zone, watching. And I remember when Denton Ryan was playing. You can see me when Denton Ryan was playing in their state game, leaned back. And before the game, you can see me talking to Jatavian Sanders. And that kid right there, you knew in high school, like, you are a freak. You are going to be a monster in college. I didn't know whether he'd play offense or defense, but what I did know, I was at multiple of his games where he did that one-handed moss. That guy, they would just throw it up in the end zone, Denton Ryan would, and Jatavian Sanders would just jump up with one hand and just moss people. It was incredible. No matter who you get in today's game, Ty, you have to recruit them each and every year due to NIL. All it takes is one good season and then off to the highest bidder. You're 100% right. You're 100% right, Kareem. The only way you can supplement that is by saying, hey, even though you might get a little bit more money elsewhere, we can develop you into a higher draft pick. Right? There's a point where decisions have to be made. I don't think that this staff is waiting, Pierre. I think at the point where they went and are pursuing Russell, they went to see him. They offered him the day they went to see him or the day after. And if I'm not mistaken, it was a committable offer. Usually Bama, like Oklahoma, they're one of those schools where they want you to camp. They want to see you do your thing before they give you that committable offer. With Russell, Nick Shinn, when he presented a committable offer, they love this kid. This staff loves Russell at Duncanville. I don't think that they're waiting. I think that they know Juju is kind of looking around. He's being courted by multiple places, and Alabama is certainly one of them. But we are not going to wait and let a great quarterback like Russell go elsewhere. If we can get him in, get him in. And I would be so happy. I love his game. I didn't think I was going to be able to watch the vid, but when I seen Ty was doing the vid, I made my mom drive us to the graduation so I can watch on the way there. Ty's the nah, man, nah. I appreciate, but I'm far from the GOAT. I'm still working at my craft. I'm still getting better in my delivery and my analysis. I mean, I'm only a small part. I'm only a small part. I can't tell you how much I appreciate all of you. I can't tell you how much I appreciate that comment. But I mean, you talk about like Coach Sean. That guy has so much knowledge, man. That anytime I can hop on a stream with him, I do so. And you'll always see me with my pen and my notebook right here, right? Pen and notebook right here. And I'm taking notes on everything he's saying because he's putting me on game. Like he's breaking stuff down. I'm still very much a student of the game, man, and I'm never going to shy away from that. I respect every single one of you too much to tell you that I have all of this figured out. I don't. I will always give you my honest opinion, but I will be honest about what I know and what I don't know. And because I can't repay y'all. I can't repay y'all for allowing me this platform. And the only way I can repay you is by always letting you know I will be as honest with all of you out of respect as I possibly can be. Kareem says, Ty, you were that guy. Stop it. You're good. Listen, Kareem, I acknowledge I'm good at what I do. I acknowledge I'm very good at what I do. That's true. But I'm far from a finished product, and I want to be better. I'm good at what I do, Kareem. I want to be the best. I love Josh. I want to be better. Right? I love Josh Pate. I think he's the gold standard. I want to be better. And I got work to do. I got to learn the game. I got to learn every single part of this that I can. Because while I'm good, and while I will admit to you I'm very good, I'm not the best. My goal isn't to be very good. My goal is to be the best. I love those two, Brian. I've been doing content with Jance since I first started on YouTube. The first live stream I ever did in 2021, Jance was there. The first live stream I ever did, Jance was there. I love that guy. Like I'm not Jance has rocked with me since I started YouTube. I love that guy. And Coach Sean, I am unbelievably blessed to have met him through this because I love his analysis. I love his perspective on things. I love his knowledge. And what a stand-up dude. I mean, what a good guy. Those two together are awesome. But it's kind of crazy that Jance and I are now both here. He and I have done content together for years. 3 years now. We've done content together. Appreciate that, Jimmy. Appreciate that. Thank you, Smooth. So much respect for Milroe and Simpson for staying. They could have both cashed fat checks. 100%. I have so much respect for Ty Simpson. I have and Jalen Milroe as well, David. But let's understand this. All signs are pointing to Jalen Milroe being the guy to start. Ty Simpson could have hopped in the portal during the spring portion and cashed out. There would have been no shortage of teams offering him. And he stayed 10 toes. That's awesome. That's awesome. I like our chances. I want to talk about this, Caleb, because you have opened up a can of worms that I am so happy you opened. He says, yeah, I like our chances with Russell more than Juju now. And 2 months ago, I thought it was a slam dunk that we are getting him. Russell can use a little more weight on him. Very true. Very true. But he'll get that here. I even think, Caleb, that he's going to get bigger at Duncanville. Now, I could be wrong, but Duncanville, I don't know if y'all have ever seen their facilities. They rival some college facilities. Like, I think that he can start to add that there, but Caleb, you're right, man. I don't worry about anybody lacing up for Alabama and not getting right in the strength and conditioning room. They're going to get you right there. Very good point, though. He's a little wiry, right? Like, what is his official? I don't think he's as wiry as Nicholas Iamaleava, but I mean, there's the comparison to be made. What a year he had. He's 6'3", 175, so he is very wiry. He is very, very wiry. He's an SMU commit, and I will tell y'all this. SMU's got money. Money. I don't think people realize how much money they have. I'm going to be honest with y'all. If they go into the ACC, because they're in the ACC now, yeah? Are they still in the AAC? I thought they were moving. Yeah, they are going to the ACC. They are going to the ACC. They got money. They got a lot of money. So let me tell you a little story about SMU. When I was a freshman in college, I rushed a fraternity, right? And I was very lucky. I didn't have any of those movie-like scenes of fraternity life. That didn't happen. That didn't happen to me. My rushing was fun. Right? My rushing was a great time. I had a lot of fun. Even as a pledge, I had a lot of fun. I was not a part of one of those fraternities that was just like killing you, right? That didn't happen. But what they did do is they told us, hey, let's go on a scavenger hunt. And so we had to go to different Fiji chapters across North Texas. We had to go to the Fiji chapter at TCU. We had to go to the Fiji chapter at SMU. You couldn't believe the cars parked outside. Not even the fraternity, just outside. Mercedes, BMWs, Porsche, Ferrari, like you name it. It was out there. SMU's got money. A lot of money. They moved to the ACC taking no money. That's how you know they've got money. That's how you know they've got FU money, man. But that area of Dallas, it's wild, expensive school to get into as well. Yeah. I don't know the source of it, WT. I'd be lying to you if I tried to guess. I just know that they have got a lot of money. I had one of the attorneys I worked for was a board on the SMU board of admissions he was a member of the board of admissions for SMU Law School. And when I was thinking of law school, he was really trying to push me to go to SMU. But I looked at that tuition and I was like, sir, I am just but a common man. I am one of the common folk. That's a place for kings. I am a commoner. It's a great school. Competed at Moot Court there. Great school, beautiful school. But man, they've got money. So hopefully we can peel them away. I know the staff loves it. Joe Johnston says, I want to hit this because I completely agree with this. Timothy Ty is the biggest portal win for CKD. Ty is that dude. 100% Brian, 100% Kelly, 100% David. Love all those takes. Joe Johnston says, Jalen will be very, very polished quarterback with some real coaching on that side of the ball. All our QBs should be improved tremendously. This is a great, great point. Over the previous few years, right? One thing we have to acknowledge is that Bill O'Brien, he didn't do anything with Jalen Milroe. Don't get me started on Bill O'Brien. No, I'm not going to get started on that. But even with Bryce Young, he told Bryce Young, you set the protections. You set all the alignments. You go out there and do your thing. Now, did it make Bryce Young super NFL ready? Yes. Yes, it did. But was that the best thing for him? I would argue no. I want everybody in here to imagine what Bryce Young would have looked like if Steve Sarkisian was his offensive quarterback or offensive coordinator. And he had Sark working with him. He had AJ Milwee working with him. The dude would have been incredible, and he already was. But you start scheming, oh boy. So there's multiple layers to this, Joe. And this is why I want to unpack this very quickly. There's the fact that now you have more people that understand the quarterback position at a high level than you ever had with Tommy Rees or with Bill O'Brien. We have not had a staff that understands the quarterback position like we have right now since that national championship with Steve Sarkisian and AJ Milwee working with quarterbacks. We haven't had it. That's the truth. We haven't had it. That's layer one, right? And I can even take this further, Joe. Speaking on layer one, not only do we have DeBoer, who has proven to be great with quarterbacks, we have Nick Sheridan, who is a quarterback at Michigan himself. We have Coach Shepard, who, yes, he's the wide receiver coach. He was the passing game coordinator at Washington. Why do I bring that up? Well, it goes down the line. We also have Byron Ellis, the tight ends coach, who worked with Bailey Zappi and put up video game numbers. So it's not just coming from the head coach or the offensive coordinator. Your tight ends coach has proven to be a phenomenal offensive mind and a phenomenal guy working with quarterbacks. Coach Shepard has proven to be a guy that can formulate game plans to be successful. That's layer one. Layer two, how many creative plays did we see last year? Very few. How much pre-snap motion did we see last year? Very few. With Steve Sarkisian, he would run orbit motion. You would see Devontae Smith going across orbit, going across orbit, going across orbit. He would run that 5 times, 6 times. And at none of those 5 or 6 times did Devontae Smith get the ball. But on the 7th time, when he's lulled the defense to sleep, Devontae Smith goes, comes back, boom, hit him for a big play. Sark has one of my favorite plays ever he ran at Alabama, and y'all will remember this when I start breaking it down. I don't know what you would call it, but it was like a fake bubble screen where they would run this screen. I shouldn't call it a bubble screen, but it was a fake screen, right? Where they would have Devontae Smith block, Jalen Waddle would get the screen pass, and they would go work. Well, he would run that consistently. And then throughout the game, he would call the same play, same formation, same everything. And instead of Smitty being the lead blocker, it was all a fake. Smitty would go like he was about to engage the cornerback. The corner would run right around him because he'd be like, oh, well, this is going to Waddle behind you. And Smitty would just laugh and say, thank you, and take off. And the quarterback would just, boop. Beautiful. Beautiful. That's my favorite play Sark ran because there is simplicity. And simplicity is the key to brilliance. People overcomplicate everything, not only in football, but in life. We as humans overcomplicate everything, and simplicity is the key to brilliance. Yep, you're 100% right, Shane. Thank you very much, Ebony. Thank you very much. That means a lot, especially coming from you. You've been so supportive of the channel. You've been so supportive of me. And it means the world, truly. Thank you very much for that. Thank you for being here, and I hope you're having a wonderful Wednesday morning. Shouldn't it, though, Caleb? Wouldn't that be good? Pony up? That'd be great. Maybe it is. I don't know, but that would be great. Yep. We have play callers instead of coordinators. It's a huge difference, 100%. You're right there. You're certainly right there, Kareem. Those guys used to take so much pride in blocking for each other. Smitty murdered OSU with that. Yeah. There's actually a play in the national championship where it's like we hit them with that exact play I'm talking about. And I just remember sitting there thinking to myself, like, oh my God, Sark is a wizard. This guy is a wizard. Everything he's running makes a painful, like, actually sit down and think about this. Everything he's doing makes a painful amount of sense. Everything. The way he's setting things up. One thing I love about Sark is that the play he's calling now may not be for a touchdown. That might not be the intent. Like, if he scores, beautiful. He wants to score on every single play. But that's not the purpose. The purpose is to get you creating assumptions. Sark wants to take advantage of your assumptions that he creates. I liken it to, okay, for those of you that watch UFC, Sean O'Malley is always hitting you with these little feints, right? Those little feints. He'll even do the head turn. And the reason why you got to respect that little head turn Sean O'Malley does is because O'Malley will throw a spinning heel kick. O'Malley will throw a spinning kick to the body. He'll throw a spinning elbow. So every time he hits you with that little head fake, you got to be prepared. But every single one of those feints, they're dual purposed. Much like Sark's motion, every time he calls it, it's a dual purpose. If you react on this one and he's able to take advantage of it, beautiful. But what he's trying to do is lull you to sleep. He's trying to get you to think, oh, we've seen this same formation 8 times. We've seen the same motion 8 times. This is what the play is going to be. No, you just assumed. Now you pay. It's a beautiful offense. And DeBoer does very similar things. And he wants to create assumptions and then take advantage of the defense's incorrect assumptions. Much like O'Malley. I'm going to keep hitting you with these little feints, right? Whether that's a teep or a spinning kick until you stop reacting. And then when you think, oh, I'm just feinting at you, he's going to kick your head off. Because you'll instead of like backing up and like keeping the guard high, you'll start to keep the guard a little bit lower, right? He's not going to throw that. He's been feinting that for 2 rounds. Whop. You're done. You're done. It's all very analogous. But Kalen DeBoer does very similar things. The screen game will be very much improved, and our running game won't be 98% inside zone, 100%. This is the scary part, Shane. SMU is still recovering. Hope Noah is doing well as well, Ebony. I just noticed I said well twice. Just doing well as well. That was a little awkward sentence structure, and I apologize for that. But I hope Noah's doing well on this Wednesday morning. Perfect setup. That play you're referring to, no one could stop it. Nobody. Because you were even if you didn't bite, there was still something there. That's what KD brings to the table. That's what Sark brings to the table. There are multiple options within one play. We haven't had that since 2020. DeBoer offensive mind better than Sark, in my opinion. Guess we'll see. Hey, I to the well too often. I'm guilty of that, Max. I'm certainly guilty of that. We'll see. I'll tell you this. Tank. I have not hid how much I respect Steve Sarkisian's offensive prowess, and I say he's every bit of the offensive mind Sark is. And that coming from me is high praise. Very high praise. I think that he and Sark are 2 of the top offensive minds in college football, and coming from me, that's high praise. Yeah, 100% Caleb. His head coaching success is wild. I certainly hope you're right, though, Tink. Like, if he comes out this year and proves he's a better offensive mind than Sark, ladies and gentlemen, we have the best offensive mind in all of college football. Dare I say the best offensive mind in football, if he proves to be just head and shoulders, if his offensive prowess appears to be head and shoulders above Sark, we have the best offensive mind in all of college football and in all of football. Period. Thing you have to respect about K. Yeah, no, this is 100% true. This is true, Matthew. I think DeBoer is actually more creative in the running game. You know what, Kelly? I think you could be onto something there. No doubt about it. Go from the GOAT on defense to the GOAT on offense. That's what we're hoping. That's certainly what we're hoping. I want to get to this right here, though. For what happened to SMU is the very reason the NCAA stopped the death penalty, because SMU is still recovering from that on recruiting alone. Yeah. Also, I think, being not in a Power 5, that really hurts. Right? Like, not being in a Power 5 really, really hurts. So it's incredible. It's incredible what happened to them. Yeah, yeah, the offensive line's got to come together. Now, one thing I did want to talk about today, guys, is the top quarterbacks in 2024. Because yesterday, Kyle asked me who I had as my top 5 quarterbacks in 2024. So, just off the top of my head, my top 5 quarterbacks off the top of my head. And remember, he asked me and said, hey, I know I'm putting you on the spot. Right now, boom. I had Milroe, Quinn, Cam Ward, Carson Beck, and I believe it was Kelly came in and said, what about Dylan Gabriel? And you're 100% right. Those were my initial 5. Now, the problem is I absolutely think Shedeur is deserving of being on this list. I know that there's a lot of contention around the social media stuff. Y'all know me. I don't care about social media. I don't care about anything except what happens on the gridiron. That's all I care about. That's it. Unless you're out there committing heinous crimes. Let me rephrase that, right? Like if you're out there being a menace to society, I care. But if it's just some social media talk, I don't care. I care about football. That's it. Yeah, Kelly, you did, no doubt about it. Props to you on that. Props to you on that. David says, I just hope we don't become USC, score on everybody and can't stop us all. I certainly hope not. I certainly hope not. I agree, Shane. I agree. And this is kind of the reason why I feel like Shedeur is absolutely deserving of being in this top 5 list, because when we look at Colorado last year, Shedeur was not the problem. Shedeur was one of the few answers they had. Terrible offensive line. In fact, there were only 2 offensive lines worse than Alabama's last year in terms of allowing sacks. Old Dominion and Colorado. That was it. That was it. Out of 131, I think Colorado came in. Was it 131, Shane? Did they come in at 131? Yeah. Right. Not good. Not good. But Shedeur, he's not the reason they lost. He's the reason they won a lot. Matthew says, I would have 1 Milroe, 2 Quinn Ewers, 3 Carson Beck, 4 Dylan Gabriel, 5 Cam Ward off the top of my head. Yeah, I don't disagree with this list. Brian says Sanders is in the top 5, whether you like him or not. Brian, listen, I agree with you, man. I agree with you. He is not the reason they're losing. He's the reason they're winning. Now, they also had a really good wide receiver core. Xavier Weaver out there was really good. Jimmy Horn Jr., really good. You have Amarian Miller out there, really, really good. Travis Hunter, when he's out there, he's really, really good. Like, they had good wide receivers, but they had no ability to consistently run the football. Oh, boy, here we go. Oh, are we good? Are we good? No, we're not good. Okay. Mac, you and I are going to box one day. And that's just going to be what it is. We're going to do a celebrity boxing event. Me versus Mac. All of Mac. Every single one of them. Okay, we're back. We're back. So I do agree. They had great wide receivers. They did not commit to the run, which would have made Shedeur's life a lot easier. They could have taken pressure off Shedeur, and they didn't. And instead, he was the reason they won games. I mean, he had a great year. He had a great year. But ESPN has a list of the top 10 quarterbacks. I want to go through this list real fast and get y'all's take. So at number 1, they have Carson Beck. At number 2, Dylan Gabriel. At number 3, Quinn Ewers. At number 4, Jalen Milroe. 5, Noah Fafita, Arizona. Now, I had initially named Noah Fafita in my top 5. And I didn't end up committing because I was like, I love Noah Fafita. I would put him in a top 10. I don't know if I could put him top 5. And I stand by that. I stand by that. I am a big Noah Fafita fan, though. I really enjoyed what he did at Arizona. Had a great year. At number 6, they have Jackson Dart. At number 7, they have Jalen Daniels. At number 8, Shedeur Sanders. At number 9, Cam Rising. Oh man, you guys know I really respect what Utah does out there, especially with their coach. I think he's one of the most Whittingham. I think he's one of the most underrated coaches in the nation. I know Perry, isn't he visiting Virginia Tech? I'd love to go out there and see him visit Utah. But as all of you commented yesterday, it is a little bit of a culture shock being from the South going to Utah, and you are very well placed for saying that. I don't disagree with that in the slightest. And then at number 10, you have Cam Ward. Yep, I saw that, Todd. I saw that. Someone's head can get knocked off now. Beck is not number 1, bro. Oh, I'm just going off of what ESPN said, Matthew. Ewers is easily better than Beck. When Ewers is on, when Ewers is playing consistent football, he's as good as it gets. I agree with you there. Like as a pocket passer, he's got the arm talent to hit every blade of grass on the field. This year, what I want to see from Quinn Ewers, a more consistent deep ball. If ESPN because I read that comment. I read this. Shane, you beat me to it, my man. You beat me to it. The only thing with Ewers is that his footwork, it's not consistent. If he sets his feet and like turns and burns, oh boy. Oh boy. It's incredible. Ebony says, and vice versa, Arizona to Alabama, my boys were like, wow, serious culture shock. Yeah, it's always interesting in college football, right? Like you're dealing with so much. You're dealing with being away from home. You're dealing with a brand new environment. You're dealing with a brand new culture. And this is very well placed, Miss Ebony, because I need to remember this myself. I have a problem in my analysis of just looking at things through the lens of like, oh, well, these are the coaches on roster. This is the work they've done in terms of their production, their development, right? Like this is what they did last year. This is the future. But that's not all this is. And I really do myself and everybody a disservice when I look at things like that. And that's why I think it was Kelly yesterday who said, hey, Utah would be a huge culture shock because of, coming from out. And he's right. You're 100% right as well. Ebony, because I tend to fall into this trap of just looking at things through the lens of like, oh, well, who are the coaches? How do they do? Are they going to be successful? Do I think they can develop you? And it's so much more than that. It's so much more than that. It's all about relationships as well. It's all about comfortability as well. It's about adapting to a new environment, being away from home. It's so much more nuanced than I sometimes give it credit for. So I very much will appreciate y'all pointing that out. No doubt about it. Where did ESPN have Milrow at number 4? The hardest part for a freshman is the first semester. No doubt about it, man. No doubt about it. Especially a football player. No doubt about it. Ewers has bad play action. It's just, if his footwork is consistent, he's incredible. Ewers is definitely good. He's incredible against Alabama. If his footwork is consistent, my goodness, he can make the throws. Yeah, this is true as well, Brian. There's this nasty tendency for quarterbacks to have the game of their life against Alabama. And it hurts. But what are the surprises in the top 10? Let's go through this one more time. At 10, Cameron Ward. 9, Cam Rising. At 8, Shadur Sanders. At 7, Jalen Daniels. At 6, Jackson Dart. At 5, Noah Fafita. 4, Jalen Milrow. 3, Quinn Ewers. 2, Dylan Gabriel. And 1, Carson Beck. Where are your surprises at? Do you feel like there's a name that has been omitted? I know this is off subject, but no one is going after. That's an interesting situation, man. That's certainly an interesting situation because they've put out 2 or 3 times now, like, oh, well, he's heard from schools in the SEC. He's heard from schools in the Big Ten. He's heard from all this. Let me get something real quick. Apologize, ladies and gentlemen. I had to answer some things real quick. Lots of them, Brian, Steve Garcia syndrome, but yeah, is a good athlete, but not a great quarterback. You know, Caleb, I'm a big Jalen Daniels fan. I really enjoy watching him play. I was a little bit surprised to see him on this list. I must admit to you, I was. And not because of ability, but because I'm looking at this list and I'm thinking, okay. And I think, listen, as much as I hate it, I think you could make the same argument for Cam Rising. Brady Cook was great last year for Missouri. Well, great. He was very good for Missouri last year. They returned some wide receivers. They have to replace Cody Schrader. They probably should have full court pressed Dylan Edwards. They let him go to Kansas State. They should have full court pressed Dylan Edwards. If I was Missouri, I would have dropped off the Brinks truck at Dylan Edwards' house saying, please, sir, come to Missouri. You lost Cody Schrader. He was a really impactful running back for Missouri. Really did it all. I would have done anything I could. Better not. I would have been doing anything I could to get Dylan Edwards. Oh no. We're on the same board. We're on the same board, Caleb. Seems like Bam. He played well in a few games, Kareem, but like it is true. And you're right. You're right. Bama has increased people's draft stock. It's the truth. Prime example of Bama being everyone's Super Bowl. Auburn last season, they spent the week of New. Exactly. Great point, JT. Oh, for sure, Caleb. I just wanted to let you know we're on the same page, my man. I just wanted. So, question for the chat: do you feel like you could swap out a Jalen Daniels or even a Cam Rising for Brady Cook? Yeah, that was wild. That whole situation was wild. Darius asking about over-unders on the stats for Milrow. Well, let's look. I'd say over on both, Darius. Over on both. Let me explain to you why. This past season, on Milrow's first year starting, he already had over 22 and a half passing touchdowns. He had 23, and he had over 8 rushing touchdowns. He had 12. And he did that with an offensive scheme, offensive coordinator, offensive everything that was not as good as what Alabama is going to be fielding this year. So, Darius, I would say over on both. Good question. Good question. What'd my man Tink say? Yeah, I mean, but Downs was in his second game. I very much well excuse that game for Caleb Downs because you were going after you were going against Sark. You know what I mean? Like Sark, he's going to go and attack you. I just wonder if KJ Lacey is a solid Texas commit. I think some of the guys on our roster are pretty. Hey, and KJ Lacey's a very, very, very talented quarterback. I really enjoy watching his stuff. Arch looked good in that spring game now. He looked good. He went undrafted? Jeez. I don't know the answer to this, Kelly. I know that they were talking to him, but I don't know that he was like offered. I don't know the answer to that. He lost a lot of talent. Bond, Brooks, Well, Brooks didn't do much last season. Benson did next to nothing last season. Black, yeah, they lost Black. And Jalen Hale's the biggest loss out of everything you just listed, in my opinion. All due respect to Bond. But I could argue that Jeremy Bernard gives you the same thing Isaiah Bond does. I could argue Ryan Williams. I'm going to go ahead and say it. Ryan Williams has got a higher upside than Isaiah Bond. You still have Kobe Prentice. You still have Kendrick Law. You have Jeremy Bernard, who offers the same type of speed that Bond does. And if I'm not mistaken, I think Ryan Williams is faster. I apologize. Okay, so Isaiah Bond clocked a 10.49 in high school, which is unbelievably fast. Okay, here's what's crazy, ladies and gentlemen. Both Ryan Williams and Isaiah Bond clocked 10.49s. I'm sorry I didn't hit the mute button. I apologize for that, everybody. I meant to hit the mute button, but it came on too quickly, and I couldn't do everything all at once. So I apologize, but thank you all. Thank you, Ebony. Thank you, Ricky. I'm sorry you had to hear that. I will be sure to suplex the mic out of here next time, right? That's my fault. That's my bad. But both Ryan Williams and Isaiah Bond ran 10.49s. Now let me see if Isaiah Bond's 10.49, he competed spring of 2022. So here's the thing with Ryan Williams' 10.49 100-meter dash. Ryan Williams did the 10.49 100-meter dash as a sophomore in high school, which means he's only getting faster. So Isaiah Bond has track speed. So does Ryan Williams. And I think Ryan Williams is more polished. Even as a junior coming out, I think Ryan Williams would have been a higher ranked receiver, even in the same class as Isaiah Bond. All due respect to Isaiah Bond. That guy's a monster. That guy is a monster. So I hear what you're saying, Darius, but I think Jalen Hale is the biggest loss there. But you replace Isaiah Bond with Ryan. Oh my God, here we go again. You replace, that's my bad. You replace Isaiah Bond with Ryan Williams and Jeremy Bernard. Benson didn't do anything. Black is very solid. No doubt about Black being solid. But they have some talented tight ends as well. I think those talented tight ends are going to be able to do their thing. What makes you say that about Williams' upside, Ty? What is it about him you see? His route running. I think out of high school, Ryan Williams has a more complete route tree than Isaiah Bond does. I think he's got just as complete of a route tree out. This is what's crazy, Ken. I think Ryan Williams' route tree is just as complete as Isaiah Bond's after Isaiah Bond has been in college and Ryan Williams is a junior in high school. I think he's at the same point. If I'm comparing when Isaiah Bond was a junior to Ryan Williams as a junior, I think Ryan Williams has a more complete route tree. I think Ryan Williams is more dangerous in terms of when the ball gets in his hand, he can make you miss from multiple. I just think he's everything you have with Isaiah Bond. I think you get in Ryan Williams plus a bit more. And I don't that's no shot at Isaiah Bond. Isaiah Bond is an incredible wide receiver. Texas got an absolute monster. He's going to put up video game numbers at Texas. He is going to be awesome. Isaiah Bond is an incredible football player. But whenever I watched Isaiah Bond, he was mainly a deep threat guy. Ryan Williams, the entire route tree is open to him as a junior in high school. As a junior. I also, what's crazy, Kevin, is Ryan Williams reclassified and was still a top 10 player. That's unheard of. Well, it's not unheard of. It's just, it's very rare. I should say that. His short area quickness is the best I've ever seen. Yeah, Ryan Williams is insane. Seen him live a ton. Yep. And listen, I don't want y'all to think like, oh, Ty's not high on Isaiah Bond. No, I love Isaiah Bond. I think Isaiah Bond is a monster. He like I Darius, I do agree with you. In terms of Isaiah Bond being a loss, it is. The only reason why I'm not worried about that loss is because you get in a Ryan Williams, because you get in a Jeremy Bernard. But you are right. Isaiah Bond is going to go to Texas. He is going to put up huge numbers, and he is going to be in for a great year with Steve Sarkisian. And they've got a great wide receiver coach out there. If he continues to develop as a wide receiver, Isaiah Bond's as good as anybody in the nation. Do not hear what I'm saying and think, oh, Ty's, down on Isaiah Bond or trying to. No, that's not it. I just think that whenever I look, if I have, because Ryan Williams is technically a junior, he reclassified. So if I'm comparing them when they were both juniors in high, Darius says my top 5 breakout players: Lewis, Jaw Latham, Brayson Hubbard, Jeremiah. Those are some good names, Darius. Those are some really good names. Exactly. They got to remember it took a while for Bond to get it. He dropped a lot of crucial passes. He was nice, but it wasn't plugging. Yeah, Bond was still like developing, and while Ryan Williams is still developing as well, run the table. He's so complete. Like for a speed wide receiver, a lot of the times in high school, whenever you have a guy that fast, that as a sophomore ran a 10.49 as a sophomore, that's insane. Whenever you have a guy that's that fast, a lot of offenses and offensive coordinators will have a tendency to say, go deep. Just go deep. And while, hey, I'm here for it, go deep, that can be detrimental to your development and success, right? Because you spend all the time just being a deep threat wide receiver that you don't actually develop a full route tree. Ryan Williams has a full route tree, and he runs routes real nice. Real nice. I completely agree with this run. Hey, I also gave you a shout out yesterday, Run the Table. Also gave you a shout out yesterday, my man. Because we were talking about Dylan Edwards, and I was talking about how you made the point that Bama should get him. And I said, while I didn't think Bama should go after him because we had a loaded running back room, I was making the point, Run the Table, of I couldn't argue with you that we shouldn't at least put out a feeler because he's that talented. Like, there's no arguing with your point there. You're 100% right. You are 100% right. Now, Run the Table, I want to hear your thoughts on this. How dangerous would it have been if Missouri got Dylan Edwards? They lose Cody Schrader, then you get in Dylan Edwards. Oh, I'm so glad they didn't. I'm so glad they didn't. But you were 100% right, man. As much as I can sit here and say Bama's got a loaded running back room, the only argument I could give you for not going after Dylan Edwards is that in college football, you're bound by X amount of scholarships, and there are needs elsewhere. So it's like, okay, we could take that scholarship, or we could use that scholarship somewhere else. But there's no arguing that he wouldn't have been a contributor. Think about that. I think Alabama has the deepest running back room in the nation, and Dylan Edwards still would have seen the field. Think about that. He's great. Yeah, there's no arguing that, Run the Table. So I had to give you a shout out yesterday when we were talking about Dylan Edwards, because you're right. You're 100% right. And you're the first person I saw say it. You're the first person outside of me that I saw in here being like, oh, Dylan Edwards, like somebody's going to get him. I remember when they said Georgia was reaching out to Dylan Edwards, I literally bowed my head and said a prayer. I said, Lord, I've seen what you've done for others, and I ask you this one kindness. Do not allow that to happen. Guide him elsewhere, please. I don't want to have to deal with Dylan Edwards in the SEC. I'm so glad he's not in the SEC. Number one. Yeah. Listen, there's a principled argument that he would have been the number one player in the class of 2025, not even number one wide receiver. Though I will say this, Bama fan, DeCorian Moore, DeCorian Moore is a monster. What did DeCorian Moore just run? He ran a 10.63, 100 meter. Oh, no, 2025 5-star. He just ran a 10.4. So he and Ryan Williams, well, granted, DeCorian Moore was a junior when he ran a 10.4. Ryan Williams, guys, he's someone who could go sub 10.4 because you continue getting quicker, right? You continue getting quicker. And if Ryan Williams would have stayed and gone through his senior year, I have no doubt he'd have been a 10.3 guy at the 100-meter dash. He's got that kind of juice. But DeCorian Moore, oh my God. DeCorian Moore is going to be a monster. Absolute monster. I can't wait to watch him play his senior year. DeCorian Moore is a beast. Absolute monster. If the FCC rule wasn't in place, Evan Stewart would have been a Georgia Bulldog. I didn't Evan Stewart enter the transfer portal before that rule was in place, Darius? So I think he could have transferred to Georgia. Yeah, Evan Stewart, Darius, that's not true. Evan Stewart entered into the window portion, and there's no rules in the window portion about SEC transfers. So Georgia could have gotten him. He was in the portal last December, so he could have transferred anywhere in the SEC. He went out there to Oregon. I'm very happy he's not in the SEC. I remember watching Evan Stewart in high school being like, my God. I was at a camp that they did here in Dallas watching Evan Stewart, and I was sitting there like, and this is when he was a 4-star. I actually have a video on my channel, and it's years old at this point. Evan Stewart was a 4-star, and in the video, I stated like, hey, this kid's going to be the number 1 wide receiver in this class. Like, I just don't see anybody being better than him. And it turns out he was right. Or I was right. And it didn't take a genius to see. It's not like I had some clairvoyance. You watched him play and you were like, this guy's not a 5-star? I mean, it didn't take long after until he was a 5-star. And like I said, that wasn't like a smart pick by me. Anybody with eyes could have seen what I saw. Easy, easy. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have been going for an hour and 42 minutes. We're going to hop out of here very soon. We've talked about Alabama and the transfer portal. We've talked about how they have got to land. Tim, he's been, hey, I got to give Darius this today, Tim. He's been having real principled conversations. Even when he disagrees, he's come from a place of real principled conversations. He even gave a list of players that he thinks are going to be breakout players for Alabama. So he's over here. He's contributing today. Jay, my man, how you doing today? Hope your knee recovery is going well. Hope you're doing good. Brian, David. So we've covered a lot today. We've talked about. Can you recap what is happening? Oh, 100%. He's already done the paperwork. So 100%, JT. I've always told y'all this. So one of the things, right, that is interesting about Deshaun Jones. I didn't know that he's already submitted the paperwork, JT, but he did tweet. He did tweet earlier today. Let me get this tweet. Ephraim said football not about straight line speed. 100%. You're 100% right. But you don't argue if you can get a guy that when you call a go route can go. You're 100% right. It's great to have guys that have both. Okay, well, this is interesting. Ladies and gentlemen, we might have good news. JT. So for everybody that was in here earlier today, Deshaun Jones had tweeted. Who's been in here since the morning? Because you can back me up on this, right? We looked it up. Earlier this morning, Deshaun Jones tweeted 15 minutes, like right after I came on live. Deshaun Jones tweeted that his recruitment was still open. That tweet is no longer on his profile. He has since deleted that tweet. So that's the conversation that we had earlier about Deshaun Jones, is that this morning, JT, he tweeted that his recruitment was still open. And now that tweet has been deleted. So hopefully good news for Alabama. Hopefully that was just, I don't know what it was, but that was the conversation around it, is that this morning there was a tweet from his account. Al Davis would disagree. That's so true. That's so true, Shane. So yeah. Listen, and I'm certainly never going to argue against the people who do fantastic work at Bama Online. They are the best in the business. So if they say it, go from them. The only thing we were looking at and discussing this morning is that Deshaun Jones had tweeted, it has now since been deleted, that his recruitment was still open. I should have screenshotted the tweet. Actually, I might still have it open. Yep, I actually have it here. Perfect. I actually did get the screenshot of it. That way y'all know I'm not crazy. But this morning, Deshaun Jones did tweet, recruitment still open. That tweet has since been deleted. Yeah, no, I'm with you, man. I don't know what the holdup is. I was a little bit concerned. You guys, you know me, JT. Everybody in the undefeated, you'll know me. I am very poignant to tell you, okay, I have concerns or I have questions. I will let you know if I have concerns, but a lot of the times whenever you hear people say, oh, I have questions about this and that, what they're really saying is I have concerns. If I have concerns, I'll tell you I got concerns. This morning, whenever I read that tweet, JT, was the first time I was like, oh boy, I might be concerned. But now that that tweet is deleted, that's great. Kelly, you were in here. You saw whenever someone put us on game about that tweet. Everybody, we have a birthday in the chat. David Walker, it's my birthday today. David, my man, where are you commenting from? More importantly, how is your day going? And before we go any further, happy birthday to David. We have got 104 people in here. I would like to see at least 100 happy birthdays. Matthew, thank you for rocking with us. Thank you for saying happy birthday to David. Ebony, thank you for saying happy birthday to David. I want to see everybody in the chat spamming some happy birthdays. Y'all know how we do. I like to cultivate a family over here. I'm not too happy about somebody still dating on the way to the altar. That's yeah, that's a great one, Hacker. Let's spam some happy birthdays for David. David, where are you watching from, my man? And if you don't want to answer that, I completely agree, or I completely understand. But let me know how your birthday is going. Do you have any big plans? Are you going to go do something special this evening? Life is long, but simultaneously, life is very short, David. Take the moments to enjoy your day, and especially your day. Do something special. Treat yourself. Life is, like I said, life is long, so you have opportunities, but life is short. So you must take advantage of the opportunities when they come. Be sure to do something for you today. Be sure to take advantage of this day for you. And even if it doesn't come today, because I understand you might be, oh, I'm at work today. Be sure to do something special this weekend. Whatever your hobby is, dedicate that time, a little bit extra time to that. Take that moment to enjoy you. Having a barbecue and going fishing. Well, that certainly sounds like a great birthday. From Gaston, Alabama. Thank you, David, for spending your birthday here with us. That means the world. Truly. I said it earlier, time is your most valuable asset. Thank you for being here with us. We got a lot of happy birthdays in the chat. Run the Table says, Ty, I haven't looked into Deshaun Jones yet. Can he be that Bama dog we need to fill more depth at cornerback? I certainly think he can be a dude that can provide competitive depth at cornerback. I certainly think that he can be a dude that can even start opposite of Damani Jackson. Georgia was after him. LSU was after him. And the reason why I give credence to LSU being after him is they have Corey Raymond back. Corey Raymond's got an interesting eye for talent. If Corey Raymond wants him, probably a pretty solid defensive back, right? Corey Raymond just got a history with defensive backs. So Deshaun Jones is a dude, man. He's a dude. I would be very happy getting him in. I'll say that much, Run the Table. What I would love for you to do, Run the Table, is I don't know this evening's schedule, but if Coach Sean is on, hop in here this evening, talk to Coach Sean about it. Like I said, I always defer whenever someone knows more than me because I want to get you the right information. But personally, I would be very happy getting in Deshaun Jones. I think that in this defense, he offers flexibility. I think he offers experience, which will only help the guys learning around him. And he provides more numbers, and not only more numbers, right? It's one thing to just get a guy and be like, okay, here's a scholarship. You know, now you're a depth piece. It's another thing to get a guy and it's like, oh, you're a contributor. He's a contributor. I love that. Marcus, is it your birthday as well? Well, we got another job to do, everybody. Now we need birthdays for Marcus. Marcus, happy birthday. Happy birthday, Marcus. Hope your day is going well. Hope you're enjoying your day. David says, I watch you every day and enjoy you. Thank you for that, David. That means more than you could possibly know. That means more than you could possibly know. Steve Murray says, what's the word on Deshaun Jones? He said his recruitment is still open. So there was a tweet because I still have it pulled up on my other panel at 8:22 a.m., May 8th, 2024. So this morning, he stated recruitment is still open. That tweet has since been deleted, Steve. So I would take that as a very good sign for Bama. I would take that as a very good sign for Bama. He may have tweeted that, and then the Bama staff got on the phone expeditiously and was like, hey, what do we need to do to lock this bad boy down? So yeah, Run the Table. I would be very excited about the addition. Unless somewhere else caught his interest. True. But because it's deleted, I don't know. And obviously I'm reading tea leaves here. I don't have Sway. I don't have the answers. Right? I don't have the answers. Though Sway was right. That's the crazy thing about that whole interview. Sway was right. If you know, you know. If you know, you know. And it's funny because he even admitted Sway was right not long ago. He did an interview, and it's one of my favorite interviews he's ever done, where he looked at the camera and he's like, I can admit Sway had the answers. Sway was right. But I don't have the answers, Sway. But reading tea leaves, I would assume that him deleting the tweet is good for Alabama, because if he caught interest from somewhere else, I think that tweet would probably still be up. Once again, that's just my LSU was after him. Signed the paperwork. Good. Like I said, I certainly wouldn't argue with any of them. I can just only talk about what he tweeted, Byron. And this morning he had tweeted that his recruitment was still open, and that tweet has since been deleted. What school? Wake Forest. 3 up, 3 down. Jor, you are a walking encyclopedia of sports, man. It is so much fun anytime you're in here. Yup. You're 100% right. You're 100% right. Oh, the best, Kelly. The best. Bama Online, like if you're asking, hey, what does recruiting coverage look like in its best form? Bama Online. They do a great job. Bone does a great job. Watts does a great job. I mean, consummate professionals through and through. They do a fantastic job. And that's why Byron, if they say that he committed, he signed, I am not here to argue with them. They know far more than I do. Their word is much better than me. Right? Their word is much better than me. But all I could point out was that he had a tweet this morning that made me raise my eyebrows and be like, what the heck is going on? But I do think since he deleted that tweet, it's good for Alabama. Main thing with Jones, too, is that he has experience with the 4-2-5 system. That's exactly what they were after, JT. There's a reason why there were so many cornerbacks on the board they could have gone after. They didn't. And I think it had to do with that 4-2-5. They wanted that experience. How good was it seeing Justice Haynes moving in? Awesome. I'm so excited for Justice Haynes. So excited for Justice Haynes. Such a talented guy. So, good news, ladies and gentlemen. I think that right there, if Bama Online is saying that he signed and he's set to be here, hey, by all means, take their word over anything I'm saying. And I'm not even arguing that he's not. That has never been my contention. I only reacted to a tweet that was out that has since been deleted. And in my opinion, that deleted tweet is a good sign for Bama. Because if someone else had garnered his attention, I think that tweet would still be up. But if Sweet Home is still here, he's going to love this. That's neither here nor there. Neither here nor there. Marcus, I hope you're enjoying your day. Happy birthday, my man. Happy birthday. They said today they were concerned about I don't know. I've been on here for the past 2 hours, so I'm not sure what was said this morning. Ephraim said what happened. I think we're in the clear, Ephraim. There was just, everyone's waiting on Deshaun Jones to commit. There was a reason why Kobe Minor didn't visit. Could have been 100%. This is a great point. Man, this is a good point. Transferring credits. It's not all like super duper easy to do all this. I don't know how many of you have tried Topo Chico, but at this point, I'm sure my bloodstream is like 95% Topo Chico. Oh, they're talking about. I have no knowledge of anything about Wake, the university, Jora, unfortunately. I just know Wake, the football team. They're talking about the tweet this morning on Bama Online. Okay, so they've even seen it. I'm not crazy. Oh, you are 100% right, Run the Table. Zabian Brown, in my opinion, he had the highest upside of any defensive back in the nation. And well, no, let me rephrase that. Because he's got unbelievably high upside. But what I meant to say is he has the highest floor of any defensive back in the nation. Meaning like he's the most college ready defensive back, in my opinion, in last recruiting cycle. I don't think that there's a cornerback out there that has a floor like Zabian Brown. He was so technically ready. What is it, Ty? What's what? Oh, what's Topo Chico? Topo Chico is just mineral water. It's just mineral water. I'm trying my best to get off Diet Cokes, and I find that the carbonation in the mineral water really helps, right? Because I found myself at this point wanting something carbonated. It has nothing to do with a Diet Coke. It has everything to do with wanting carbonation. And Topo Chicos are very carbonated water. And at this point, like I'm telling you, my DNA is probably like 98% Topo Chico. He started when Damani Jackson got hurt in 2021, seasoned at modern day. How talented. How talented is modern day, man? Great comment, Jordan. Love that comment. Thank you for that insight. How talented is modern day? And we were talking about this earlier, Jordan. There are certain high school leagues out there, right? Like we were talking about Keelan Russell earlier this morning. Keelan Russell coming from Duncanville. I have high faith that that guy's going to translate. Why? Because he practices against guys that are going to be playing college football. He plays against guys that are going to be playing college football. Much the same, I always say, with the Catholic League in Washington, D.C. That's an incredible football league. And then the Trinity League out there in California. It's loaded. I don't know what's different about it, Kevin. I don't really the only thing I know is like out of all the mineral waters I've tried, it's like the most heavily carbonated. I don't know what's different about it though. I just know I really like it. Probably the reason I was introduced to it is because I said this yesterday. Before my wife took my last name of Hayes, her last name was Maggie Ennis, and it's a mineral water from Mexico. So, every time we'd go to a family event, you had your cerveza and you had your Topo Chico. And I am not a big drinker. I know that's ironic because I'm sponsored by a whiskey company, Shady Miles. But it's very rare you'll see me pouring up a glass. Like it's very rare. Very rare. Maybe once, twice a month. That's it. But Topo Chico? I got me some Topo Chico. So that's where the love started. Run the Table says you're going to have to pry that young gun off that DB2 position. I know it's early, but who do you think will make the start? Run the Table. I think it would be Jones. But this is the interesting conversation I had this morning. Whenever people were like, why is it so hard for Alabama to land a corner in the transfer portal? Because nobody wants to come in here and compete with Zabian Brown, with Zay Mincy, and with Jalen Mbakwe. Because remember, Kyrie Jackson run the table. It's the same kind of thing here, right? It's like, okay, if you come into Alabama and you're an experienced cornerback, if you mess up and then they throw Zabian Brown out there, it's going to be much different if Zabian Brown messes up as opposed to an experienced defensive back. Because if I'm Mo Linguist and my experienced defensive back is dropping the ball, and then I put Zabian Brown out there and he's dropping the ball, if that experienced defensive back is like, well, why can't I go back out there? He's messing up. I'm going to be like, because he's a true freshman. It's nothing for him to mess up. Like, yes, it's not great, but at the end of the day, I expect him to learn in the fire. You don't have that excuse. You've had your process of learning into the fire. He hasn't. So this is a great point, Run the Table. I would assume Jones, but let's be honest. Let's be 100% honest here. Alabama's very blessed to have those three young guns at corner because any one of those guys, if one of the young, and this is what it is, JT. This is why when you look at safety, right? What has Alabama done? They got Cam Howard. They got Keon Sabb, who Keon Sabb could be a one and done, but he has the ability to stay for multiple years, right? Like he could come back next year and continue. And they're after King Mac. So you have Cam Howard, you've got Keon Sabb, and they're after King Mac. All the guys they got at safety, they're multiple year guys. At cornerback, they were just looking at a guy to come in for 1 year to try and just be and you said it right, JT, a placeholder, just so that they could have these young guys learn and develop and not have the pressure year one, right? To learn in a more relaxed environment. JT, you put it best. It's a placeholder situation. But run the table, it's tough, right? Because those young guns are so good. And you know how much I like Zabian Brown. You really know how much I like Zay Mincy. I think Zay Mincy's upside is unreal. I think his upside is ridiculous. Granted, I think all their upsides are ridiculous. But yep, exactly, run the table. That's why when I said if Deshaun Jones didn't come, I would be concerned. Not concerned with the talent, but concerned with just the numbers, right? Like it's like, okay, we don't have a whole lot of numbers at this position. In terms of talent, I don't have a concern in the world because you're 100% right. Very few of these portal guys want to come in and compete knowing if I mess up, my leash is far shorter than their leash, whether that's Zabian Brown, whether that's Zay Mincy or Jalen Mbakwe. If Jalen Mbakwe, Zay Mincy, Zabian Brown go out there and mess up, Mo Linguist is going to look at them and say, yeah, that's expected. They're true freshmen. They're going to learn in the fire. What's your excuse? And there's nothing you can say to that. You can be like, oh, well, it's my first time being here. And he's going to be like, yeah, but it's not your first time playing college football. It's their first time playing college football. So it was always a precarious situation and why I was so fascinated. I don't have any concerns. I don't have one question about the talent in the room. I just always run the table. I go back to that Georgia game, and we always talk about the wide receivers being out, but we don't talk about the defensive backs being out. That hurt Alabama. Portal just hurt Earl Little because of the Amarian. Hopefully Earl Little can beat him out, man. Like I said, I want the best for all these guys. Of course, I'm an Alabama fan, but I'm a college football fan. I want people to be able to pursue their dreams. I want people to be able to find happiness. That's what we're all here to do, to find our happiness. And I certainly hope it works out at Florida State for them. Ladies and gentlemen, we've been going for 2 hours, over 2 hours at this point. I am going to hop off. I need to get some things taken care of. I am not sure the night schedule this evening. Let me see. Let me see what I can't find out about the night schedule. See if Coach Sean is going to be running this evening. 7 p.m., Coach Sean. So, ladies and gentlemen, it has been a pleasure being here with all of you today. What flavor, Topo Chico? I haven't tried any of the flavored ones. I just get the straight Topo Chico mineral water. And it's great. It's great. Coach Sean will be here this evening, 7 p.m. If you want to come and kick it with him, you guys know he is a wealth of knowledge. I appreciate all the support. Did I do something funny? I feel run the table. Have you ever seen God, what's the movie? Super Troopers? You ever seen Super Troopers run the table? Now they do have a grapefruit Topo Chico. They've got a lime Topo Chico. DeKelvin says it's my birthday too. Well, happy birthday, DeKelvin. Happy birthday. Before we get out of here, let's spam some happy birthdays. But did you run the table? Have you ever seen Super Troopers? Every time I see someone just put in an LOL in the chat, I want to quote Super Troopers. Meow, what is so darn funny? So, anyways, Coach Sean will be taking the night stream tonight, 7 p.m. That guy's a wealth of knowledge. Be sure to be over here supporting him. I mean, any questions y'all have and run the table, I would highly advise you come and talk to Coach Sean about that. You know that guy being a former player. He's got it figured out. He'll talk to you about Deshaun Jones. Hopefully we get that win. He'll talk to you about the viability of Deshaun Jones, whether or not he thinks he will start. I think it's likely that he will be the guy game one. The question is, can he fend off all those talented freshmen? That I don't know. To Kelvin, happy birthday. Marcus, happy birthday. David, happy birthday. Glad y'all spent it here, as Ebony is sure to cover all of her bases. Happy birthday to all the Taurus guys. I got to wait all the way until December, right? I got to wait all the way until December before my birthday comes around. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been an absolute pleasure, as always, to be here with you. Thank you for the support. Thank you for the conversations. Thank you for just being you. You guys are unbelievable, and I wouldn't be in this position without you, and I'll never be able to repay that. Thank you all for allowing me to pursue a dream. It means the world, truly. Until next time, I will be back tomorrow morning. Hope to see you here. Hope that you enjoy your day. And as always, roll tide and allow me to introduce you to the final member of our panel, the Spinning Wheel of Doom. And it spins.